Alright, what's going on there, everybody? So, another hot, humid Texan summer day today. Going to be working on the 2005 Mustang GT 4.6 liter 3-valve engine. My neighbor, he's doing yard work. So, it's probably a good time to always inspect your spark plugs every 2 years on these engines. They are notorious for getting locked up and seized up in the 2005 to 2007 engines. This also includes the 5.4 liter Triton 3-valve engine. It's not just susceptible to the 4.6 liter. So it's always good to check your spark plugs every 2 years, inspect them, make sure there's no corrosion on the shielding on the actual electrode portion of the spark plug. I just actually pulled these out literally a few days ago. Why am I pulling them out again, might you ask? Well, contrary to popular belief, I've been told not to actually put any Cs, just in general, on the threads of the spark plug, being that it's copper or any of the other two, or three. There's a handful of different ones that you can put in terms of anti-Cs. I've been told by a lot of people that it's not good. It could basically add as a lubricant or act as a lubricant when it threads in. You could be over torquing your spark plugs and end up either stripping the threads inside the head, or you could be breaking them off and potentially causing damage to the head. So I was like, that kind of scared the crap out of me. So I'm like, crap, okay, well, let's go ahead and take them out again, take off all the anti-Cs that we just put on the threads, and what we're going to be using instead. I've been told it's safe to use nickel anti-Cs rather, and the nickel anti-Cs, you're going to put that on the shielding portion of the spark plug and not the threads. It's probably okay to put just a tiny little pea size on the threads, but no more than that. You don't want to cake the threads up because you don't want to add all that extra lubricant to basically lock it up into the head. Ugly doodly. So the things that you're going to need is a shop vac. It's kind of optional, but it's kind of required in my opinion. It'll allow you to basically blow out any of the dirt and shit that's stuck in your underneath your spark plug boots, and as well as on the side over here. You're also going to need the correct 15 millimeter socket to get the spark plug out, because this doesn't allow me to actually pull it out. So that's what this tool is for, my little magnetic tool. That's what we're going to use to extract it. You're also going to need some nickel anti-Cs to put on the shielding, and then dielectric grease for the boots, and I believe that's it. Also, I failed to mention that the other tool that you're going to need is a 7 millimeter to take your boots out. So let's go ahead and pull off our spark plugs. You got our boots right here, all 4 of them on each side. Well, 8 of them, I should say. And yeah, so hopefully I don't run into a spark plug breaking into my head as I'm doing this for like the 3rd time in a row on this car. If we run into that issue, well, it looks like I'm buying the extractor tool to take it out. So let's go ahead and get right into this. Oh, and I thought I should mention really quick before we do. If you're going to try to get your spark plugs out, I've been told that it's a good thing to get the car running at operating temperature. You know, maybe drive it around town for a bit, get it at good hot idling temperatures, so that way the spark plugs might be a little bit easier to get out. It sucks working on a hot engine, but I've been told that it definitely helps getting the spark plugs out of these 3-valve engines. So, all right, before we pull out our spark plugs, this we're going to take the shop vac and blow out any dirt, any dust up in here, especially up in these holes here. And then once you take the spark plug out, blow out inside the actual cylinder too, just in case anything falls down up in there. Most of the time, if any debris does get down up into the cylinders, it will probably pass through the valves anyways, but why take that risk, right? So just go ahead and blow out this whole entire thing so we don't take that risk with the shop vac. Okay, so we've pulled it out. I believe this is cylinder number 1. The reason why it's up here is because it is extremely hot from obviously being at operating temperature. So the portion that usually typically gets stuck inside the actual cylinder head itself, or the head itself, is going to be the shielding part right here. This is the shield, right where my index finger is. And that is the same portion that we're going to be covering with nickel anti-seize. This right here likes to get stuck inside the actual head, and it usually breaks off right where my index finger is. So you'll be left with this upper portion of the spark plug, but this portion usually gets stuck inside the head. So that is why it is vital that you coat this with anti-seize and nickel specific. That way it does not do that in the future. And again, it is always a good thing to, every 2 years, pull these guys out, recoat it with nickel anti-seize, clean up the spark plug of any kind of deposits on it, and basically reinstall it. That way it doesn't have the risk of seizing up into the head. You do that every 2 years, I guarantee you probably will not have any problems with your spark plugs. It's just one of those things that you'll have to deal with owning a 3-valve Ford engine, that being a 4.6, that being a 5.4. Doesn't matter. It's just something, it's just preventative maintenance that you're gonna have to do when owning these cars. You know, we love them, but we also hate them just because of their flaws. And again, this only applies to the 3 valves of like 2005 up to 2007, and then they got a complete redesign up from like 2008 and onward. Specifically November of 2007 is what I've been told. So any engines that have been manufactured from that month onward have been redesigned, and you don't really have to worry about spark plugs getting locked up in the head as much. But again, just so you don't have to deal with it, always at least put nickel on the shielding portion as a preventative measure. Now, let's go ahead and pull out the rest of the banks. So we still have cylinders 2, 3, and 4, and then we have to do 5, 6, 7, and 8. So while this one's out, it's just gonna sit here and cool off. We're gonna clean it up, and then we're gonna put nickel, and I'll show you what it looks like with the nickel anti-seize. When you do apply it, you do not wanna put it on the electrode portion, just the shielding. Otherwise, you're gonna have all sorts of issues like misfires and shit. So let's go ahead and pull out the other ones. We seem to have run into a problem. My fucking dielectric grease fell down into the intake. How fucking wonderful. I'm gonna have to figure out how to fish that out. Oakley dokley. So this is what it looks like, all seized up. We've put the nickel anti-seize on the shielding at the top, and then just a little tiny bit on the threads, not a lot at all. You do not want to cake the threads at all. This is more than enough. You shouldn't even really be putting it on the threads at all, but you know, I like to. It's just I only put a tiny little bit. They say that the spark can run hotter when you put it on the threads, but I've noticed no difference. My engine seems to be running just fine when I've done this before. But the most important part is the shielding right there, and make sure you're not getting any on the electrode at all, just the shielding and nothing else. And you don't need a whole lot of it at all. This will allow it to not seize up in the block, or in the head I should say. And again, every 2 years pull these out, put seize on them again. It's always a good thing to do. Why is it not focusing? It's just a good thing to do because it allows you to also check the electrode from time to time, whilst also checking the condition of your engine, because a spark plug tells a lot about the health of an engine. Knowing your spark plugs says a lot, and can, you know, potentially save you from costly repairs. So let's go ahead and put this guy back in cylinder 1. All right, that was not more than a bitch trying to get that dielectric grease from underneath the intake. Anyways, so how you apply it to the boot is basically you want to take a thin bead and run it around the whole circumference of the bottom of the boot and get a tiny little bit on the inside. That way it prevents the boot from seizing up on the spark plug given 100,000 miles from now. Or again, if you're checking your spark plugs every 2 years, you don't really have to worry about this too much. But that's how you apply the dielectric grease. Now we have to do this for all 8 of them, and now let's go ahead and do that right now. All right, moment of truth that I didn't fuck something up. Pray. Nope, we are good. All right, and there you have it, folks. So that's how you basically do a spark plug replacement and or checkup on your 4.6 to 5.4 liter 3-valve Ford engine. So pretty much do that and you'll have no problems getting your spark plugs in and out on any of the older style heads. Anyways, guys, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Glad that we had run into no problems other than my dielectric grease falling underneath the intake. Hopefully you guys have a good one. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.